Hey, what's up? You already know what it is. It's time for Higher Heights, Deeper Depths. I ain't been here in a while, but today I want to talk about a subject that we all should be happy to talk about. It's one of my favorite subjects in the Bible, faith. Faith, the Bible talks about how every man is born with a measure of faith. Every man is born with a measure of faith. So when God says every man is born with a measure of faith, to me, that means when you come out of the womb, you have a certain level of faith that was given to you by God. That means like you see people walking, so you begin to pull up on things without nobody telling you that you can do this. Nobody's poured into you negativity or positivity or anything. You just got a certain level of faith where you see figures moving around and they seem to be walking on their legs, and so you want to get up and walk. So you begin to strengthen yourself by pulling up on things and crawling and trying to get those legs strong enough to walk, because you have a measure of faith. Also, your measure of faith is so strong that you see people talking around you and you begin to pick up on this dialogue. Now, what's so great about this is when you're born in this world, no matter where you were born, if you were in Spain, you would be speaking Spanish. If you were in America, you're going to be speaking that language. You're in Africa, you're going to be speaking that language. What leads a man to be able to speak any language. There's no Rosetta Stone. You don't go to some course to learn how to talk. You begin talking by mimicking the things you see around you. And so when God says every man is born with a measure of faith, I believe it's no stronger than when you're a baby and nobody can tell you or dictate to you anything. You just use what's already in you in order to learn how to walk and to talk. You have a measure of faith. Now, when we get older and we start walking, when we start going down the road and start figuring out stuff ourselves, we start reading books, we start going to school, we start actually being able to communicate with other human beings, so on and so forth. Then we begin to get knowledge. We begin to get knowledge from other people who are around us. And when we get that other knowledge, whether it's good, bad, or otherwise, it begins to soak into this spirit that already was born with a certain amount of faith. Once all that knowledge starts getting into you, then there's no holds barred. You start to believe more in what somebody else tells you that can and can't happen, and you start to see that maybe I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm not big enough, or I'm not small enough to do this, and you start to lean more on that understanding than the faith that you came here with, and that faith that you came here with begins to get weaker. You see, that faith that you came here with is great because nobody actually can even communicate when you come here. Nobody can communicate with you when you come out of the womb. No matter how bad the mom wants to know what the baby is crying for, she can't know. And no matter how bad the baby wants to communicate with the mom what's bothering them, they can't know. So the only relationship that you have is with God. So and God has to be your provider. God has to be your protector. God has to be your coverer. God has to feed that mom the maternal instincts to be able to take care of that baby, because there's no communication going on there. It's strictly God and it's strictly faith. But throughout the course of that baby's life, he begins or she begins to get what is called knowledge. And knowledge is what's messed us up from the beginning. Knowledge and faith don't go together. Knowledge and faith do not go together. I'm talking about worldly knowledge here. Knowledge and faith cannot exist together, because when you start to lean on your knowledge and your understanding, let me put it that way, your knowledge and your understanding don't go hand in hand with faith, because when you start to lean on what you know, then faith goes out the window. Faith goes completely out the window, and you cannot believe in the unseen if you can only see and imagine in your head something that you can tangibly touch, or something that you can be explained through a mathematical equation. If you can't explain it that way, then you feel like it can't happen. And the reason why I want to go into this is because me and my father was talking the other day, and we was talking about whether or not I believe in healing or not. We were talking about false prophets. We were talking about people who have the ability to lay their hands on people and get them healed through the laying on of hands. And I said, man, I just don't see it, because I'm of the ilk that if somebody had that gift to go around healing people, then they would go to all the hospitals and heal all the sick in the hospital, or they would stand on the street corner and make billions of dollars because they could lay their hands on somebody and heal them. And how this subject came about, it was because of that, because I was like, man, I just don't believe that nobody has that gift, or if they do, they hidden off in the woods somewhere with the gift of healing. And my father broke something down to me, and it was very profound. He said, whether or not a person is healed has nothing to do with the person that's laying the hands on them. See, in order to first be healed, that person that needs the healing must believe in healing already. Now, it took me a while to get it. Like I said, it took me a while to get this concept, because what my father was saying is, in the Bible, when people got healed, it was because of their belief. You know, everybody wanted to give the credit to Jesus, but when Jesus would walk across people who needed healing, a lot of times in the Bible, he would ask them a question. Do you want this? Is this something you wanted? Because it doesn't matter me laying my hands on you if this isn't something that you believe and you want. And there was a woman in the Bible who got healed, and he said, thy faith have made you whole. Thy faith have made you whole. Meaning that you were really healed the moment you decided to believe that I could heal you. So a lot of times in this life, the reason we're not getting healing in the areas that we want to get healed is because we don't even believe ourselves that we can be healed. That's deep, man. That is very deep, because we'd rather spend most of our time talking about the false prophets and the people who can lay hands on the people and say, oh, I don't believe. Well, that's your first problem. First problem is you don't believe that you can be healed that way. And so you're not going to be healed that way. That ain't a probably. You're not going to be healed that way because you don't believe it. And it works in a fold of like it works together. Like you either going to believe or you don't believe. And so if you don't believe, that's fine. It goes even so far when we talk about atheists. See, this is the thing, my new revelation that I got from God about atheists. In order to be an atheist, period, I believe you have to feel like there's a God, because you wouldn't even call yourself an atheist if there's nothing to oppose. Atheist is opposed to believing in God. It's opposed to believing in God, meaning there is no God. So you brand yourself an atheist, but how can you even brand yourself an atheist if there is no God to oppose to? You understand what I'm saying? So to me, if I don't even believe in God or there is no God, I'm never in that conversation. I don't have to argue with anybody that there is no God. I'm not trying to show you that there is no God. I'm not asking you to show me that there is a God if I'm an atheist. I don't want to brand or nothing. I just walk my life, living my life. But to me, an atheist is really crying out for help, because an atheist will continue to become part of arguments about whether or not there is a God. And so to me, that's actually like a cry for help. They want you to show them that there is a God. They want proof that there is a God. And many times we argue with the atheists trying to prove to them that there is a God, or use scripture, and that's not going to prove it to them. That's not going to prove to them that there is a God, because most of the times atheists are people who believe in science. They believe in mathematical equations. They believe in what they can touch, feel, and see with their eyes. That's what an atheist is. And so I tell people all the time, if people are going to see God, they're going to see him in you. If they're going to see the love of God, they got to experience it through you. If they're going to see the acts and the miracles of God, they're going to see these things in you. So my greatest proof, my greatest witness that there is a God is not found in scriptures, is through me. This is why Jesus is the ultimate blueprint, the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate leader to me, because he kept trying to teach us the truth. If I'm going to show somebody God, it's going to be in me. He said, I am in the Father and the Father is in me. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father, and no man will come to the Father unless they come through me. Come on, y'all. Somebody got to understand what real faith is and how we're going to show other people that God exists. If I'm bitter, then this is the God that I'm presenting to everybody else. If I'm stingy and won't be able to give and never want to pray for someone, this is the God that I say that exists to everybody. So this is why it's hard for some people in our lives to even understand that God is real, because he does not appear to be real in our lives. If you are in a circle of people or hanging around people who don't believe in God, then you are not a very good reflection of the God that you're trying to convince them to believe in. So we can't sit around and complain because your friend does not believe in God, or doesn't think that God exists, because if you do believe in him, then you are the representation of God. So what I'm trying to tell you is, faith is this big thing. It's like a muscle. I did a reel about this. Faith is like a muscle. When you start with a certain measure, a certain amount of muscle, everybody has a certain amount of muscle in their body, but some people's muscles are bigger. Some people's muscles are stronger. It's because they work out this faith. They work out this muscle. They go to the gym and they constantly push God to the limits. Some of us don't push God to the limit. Oh, our God is only big enough to pay our light bill. Our God is only big enough to get the job at McDonald's or the job at Ashley's or the job at Toyota. That's how big our faith is, just big enough to get us in a relationship. Or maybe your God is only big enough to fix your flat tire. But some people's God and some people's faith is so great that they're doing great, tremendous things in this earth. And it didn't start off that way. They started off with this small thing, but they didn't let it stop there. They didn't get content. They moved on to the next thing. And it didn't stop there. They went on to the next thing and the next challenge and the next adventure and the next miracle in God. They kept saying, God, I'll challenge you. I want to make my faith greater. Jesus's faith was so awesome, and it was so whole because it was complete until death. He totally trusted God for everything while he was here. His faith was whole and complete. And I believe this is the goal. This is the aim of Paul. This is the aim of Jesus. This is what they were trying to show us, that before we leave here, this faith that we started off with, who God is the author and finisher of, must be made complete. Should be your goal, that your faith be made complete and whole before you leave here, that you are totally dependent and trusting on God from the start, from the moment you wake up in the morning to the time you go to sleep at night. Your faith is total. Man, I'm really actually getting goosebumps here. I'm actually getting a good feeling, a great feeling on the inside. And I know it's like fire shut up in your bones when God is feeding you revelation, because you're understanding what the truth is. The truth is, I want to actually be in tune and one with the Father so much that before I leave here, my faith is as great as it could possibly have been. And I know it's not there yet. I got to be honest, it's not there, because I want to be able to go out here and speak those things that aren't as though they were, and they come to fruition. That's manifestation. I should be able to manifest. I should be able to speak things into existence. I should be able to frame the world around me the way that I should, because that's my Godship. That's my authority that God gave me. That's the reflection of God. That's being made and created in God's image. That's what it's about. And if I can't do those things yet, I got some working out to do. See, we always want to work out this physical body. We love to go work out this physical body. Some of us don't, but anyway. But we work out this physical body. But the spirit is much greater than the physical. The power that's in you is greater than what's on the outside of you. And so many times we take that for granted. We don't work on those things, but we should be working on those things daily. We need to put on the armor of God. We need to realize that the enemy is as a roaring lion. And if you're not working out that spirit, he's going to hit you. He's going to bam you. He's going to drop you every time. So remember this, like I said, faith is like a muscle that must be worked out. I got more content on the way, y'all. Trust me, I know it's been a couple of days since I've been dropping. I've been giving my voice a rest. I've been giving my mind a rest. I've been spending some time with God, of course. Everybody goes through in life, was going through some things, but I thank God for going through those things, and it's only going to be greater later. So y'all be blessed. Faith is like a muscle. Go work out.